The stranger at the bus stop changed my life forever. Welcome to Elevate Your Life, where every story leaves you thinking just a little deeper. Today's story isn't just eerie, it's a mirror. One stranger, one sentence, and a moment that flipped an entire life upside down. If you've ever felt like you're coasting through life on autopilot, this one's for you. Let's get into it. I used to think mornings were just mornings, that time of day where you're half awake, going through the motions, coffee, keys, maybe a podcast playing in the background, a little quiet before the day hits you full force. But one morning, 2 years ago, that routine broke. Completely. And what happened still lingers in the back of my mind every time I pass that same bus stop. It was late March, cold, grey and drizzling, just enough to be annoying, but not enough to justify calling out of work. I remember that morning because I just hit snooze 3 times and missed my usual train. I was already irritated, didn't have time for an Uber, and decided to take a local bus instead. I hadn't done that in years. The stop was about a 10-minute walk from my place, on the edge of a quiet industrial strip. Just a sidewalk, a rusted bench and a faded sign that always leaned a little too far to the left. When I got there, no one was around, just puddles, the smell of wet asphalt and that weird silence you get before a storm. I sat down, hoodie up, scrolling my phone, trying to distract myself. I was doom scrolling the news when I heard footsteps, not loud, just deliberate. I glanced up. A tall man, maybe mid-40s, was walking slowly toward the bench. He wore a beige coat, dark slacks, and carried what looked like a leather-bound journal. Everything about him said professional, except for one detail, his shoes. They were muddy, not city dirty, muddy like he had been walking through a field or the woods, caked, dried, and cracked at the soles. He didn't say anything, just sat down beside me, close enough to feel the edge of his coat brush mine, too close for comfort at an empty stop. I was about to shift away when I heard him say, clear as day, but almost to himself, "They'll come when you stop pretending you're not lost." At first I thought I misheard. I looked at him, eyebrows raised. "Excuse me?" Nothing. He was staring straight ahead, blank, like he didn't even realize I was sitting next to him. I kept staring for a moment, waiting for a smirk or some kind of follow-up. Nothing, not even a glance in my direction. Something in my gut tensed. I checked the time on my phone. The bus was still 8 minutes away. I debated walking off, but something about him made it hard to move. Not fear, just a weird kind of gravity, like he had dropped a riddle into my lap and walked away mentally. We sat in silence for what felt like forever. Then I blinked and he was gone. I swear to you, I didn't hear him stand. No footsteps, nothing. I was reading a text message, glanced up again, and the man was no longer there. I turned to look down the street, both ways, completely empty, no cars, no footsteps. Just that same empty sidewalk and wet air. Now I know what you're thinking, maybe he ducked into a nearby building. But there were none, just an old tire shop across the street that had been closed for months and a chain-link fence behind us with barbed wire at the top. He had vanished. The bus pulled up a few minutes later, but I barely noticed. I got on, sat by the window and stared out, trying to replay the last few minutes. They'll come when you stop pretending you're not lost. What did that mean? All day, I couldn't shake the sentence. It felt too pointed to be random, too personal, and the truth is, I was lost. Not literally, but inside. At that time in my life, I was dragging myself through a job I hated. Stuck in a relationship that felt more like an obligation than a partnership. Every day felt like rinse, repeat, with no end in sight. I've been pretending I had it all together, smiling in meetings, answering "I'm good" when people asked how I was doing, but I wasn't good. I was exhausted, drained, going through the motions just to make it through the week. That man, whether he was a ghost, a figment of my imagination, or just some eccentric stranger, he saw through me. That sentence, it was a key that unlocked a door I'd been avoiding, and I'll be honest, it didn't all change overnight. But that moment woke something up in me. Within 3 months, I left that job, started freelancing from home, took a solo trip for the first time in years. No plans, no itinerary, just me and some silence. 6 months later, I ended my relationship. Not because of anger, but because I finally got honest with myself and with them. I stopped pretending, and life did come to meet me. Sometimes it only takes one strange moment, one unexpected sentence to wake us up. If this story stirred something in you, don't brush it off. Lean into it, ask the hard questions, and when you're ready, stop pretending you're not lost, because that's when life starts to find you. Thanks for spending time with Elevate Your Life. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need their own wake-up call. Until next time, keep elevating.